Hi, this is Billy J. Miller, and I am so excited to be co-hosting this special series on the Rural Woman podcast titled Farm Kids. Did you know this is also a book? If you love these interviews, and I know that you will, why don't you dive into it in book form? Visit my website, www.billyjmiller.com/in-stores, and find out where you can get Farm Kids Stories from Our Lives.
Hi, I'm Caitlin Dubin, and this is the Rural Woman Podcast. I'm a first-generation farmer who married into agriculture. Born and raised in a city, I was so unfamiliar with where my food came from, but I was determined to figure it out. Through my journey into agriculture, I saw women who were strong but humble, often taking a back seat. To me, these women were leaders who deserved a seat at the table. I created the Rural Woman Podcast to share the voices of women in an industry whose stories often went untold. The rural entrepreneurs who live and breathe their work, full of grit and pride. We come here to share our stories, to be in community with each other, to be challenged and inspired, but most importantly, to be celebrated and to be heard. We may not all live, farm, ranch, or homestead the same, but we are all connected. We are rural women, and our stories are worthy of being told. Hey everyone, welcome to a special series of the Rural Woman Podcast. When I was brainstorming how I wanted to celebrate the 5th anniversary of the Rural Woman Podcast, I thought it would be really fun to highlight a different age demographic of rural women. So this month, we are featuring some very special young rural women on the show. This series was inspired by a dear friend of mine and a friend of the podcast, Billy J. Miller. Billy is an author and a speaker who has been captivating audiences and readers by telling the stories of farm life since she married a 4th-generation Alberta farmer in 2010. Billy's first appearance on the Rural Woman Podcast was all the way back in the beginning, episode 3, back in 2019, which we have linked in today's show notes. In her 4th book, Celebrating Farm Life, Billy examines what farm life is like through the eyes of children, only not just interviewing today's children. This book tells the stories of farm kids from the 1920s all the way up to 2022. Peppered with hilarity and frank honesty only present-day kids can muster, this book is filled with stories that will enlighten you, warm your heart, and make you laugh out loud. You can find a link to the book Farm Kids, Stories from Our Lives, as well as Billy's other work in today's show notes. Our final guest in the Farm Kids series is Madeline Miller. Madeline is a 12-year-old farm kid who loved working with her steers in 4-H, playing softball and volleyball, and with her dog Bubbles, and takes immense pride in being a farm kid. She hails from South Miller Farm, her family's mixed grain and cattle operation in East Central Alberta. Her dad is a 4th-generation farmer who grew up on his family farm that began in 1911. And her mom is an author who writes books about farmers just like him and the incredible life it makes. Madeline loves her life and would love to continue the tradition of farming in her future. I had such a wonderful time hosting these interviews with my friend Billy Miller, and to get to know her girls and the other 2 amazing kiddos that we got to interview was so much fun. And friends, if you love this series, let us know and we can make this a continuing thing. If you have a fierce young farmer who would love to share their story on the show, you can head on over to wildrosefarmer.com, and under the Rural Woman Podcast tab, there is a nominate a guest. And please be sure to let us know that you are nominating the next farm kid for our hopefully continuing Farm Kids series. And I just want to say thank you again so much to the young ladies who shared their stories with us, their parents who filled out all of the paperwork for us, and especially to my dear friend Billy. This was great. And thank you so much for all of the work you do that highlight the incredible stories of women and kiddos in agriculture. And love you lots. Without further ado, my friends, let's get to this week's episode with Madeline.
Welcome to the Rural Woman Podcast. I am so excited to be helping you co-host this month, and I'm especially excited to introduce this fourth final and fabulous next guest of ours. This guest is a special one to me. She is my first child, my oldest daughter, Madeline Miller, who is 12, and I'm so excited to interview her with you, Caitlin, as special part of this Farm Kids series.
I am as well. I'm sure Madeline was one of the inspirations for you in writing your Farm Kids book.
Absolutely. Hands down. Yep, you bet.
So Madeline, why don't you tell us more about yourself, who you are, where you're from, and tell us about your farm.
I'm Madeline, and I live in Alberta on a cattle and grain farm. We have around 200 cows, and we farm grain.
Very cool. What kind of grain do you farm on your farm?
We grow canola, wheat, barley. I think a couple of times we've grown flax and peas, maybe.
You bet. Perfect.
That's a good variety. What's your favorite crop to grow?
Probably. I like growing canola, but I like looking at it, but like when we harvest it, there's really like the stubble's really hard, and it's like a pain going out there bringing food.
Yeah, it's true.
So
It's hard on the ankle. Yes.
Right? The struggle of every grain farmer listening to you right now. We understand. So tell us more about your 4-H experience. How long have you been in 4-H?
this is my third year, and my first year, it was really, really fun. I really wanted to do it because most of the people in my class were doing it, and I felt like a little left out, and I thought it'd be super perfect because we have a lot of cows, and I really like cows too, so I wanted to work with them more. And me and Kate always like Katie especially, like when I first started, she really wanted to be able to ride them. And she actually did our buddy steer that we got the first year. He was just a lump. He just didn't care what we did. It was really fun. I'm in B4H, so each year we have 2 steers, and one of them's a buddy steer. That I show and sell that one if the other one isn't ready to show or is sick or something or passes away. This year I have 2, and my buddy steer's name is Duncan, and my main one is named Monty.
Can you explain to me what a buddy steer is?
It's basically a backup steer. So if anything happens to your 4-H main steer that you're gonna show in the ring, you show that one and sell that one instead. If something happens to that one, like it passes away, or like I said, get hurt or something.
I've never heard of that before, so you taught me something today, Madeline. So what do you think is your favorite part about 4-H?
I really like showing them. Sometimes at the start of the year, it can be a little scary once you just start working with them. But beginning, the end, when you're getting close to show day and the auction market, it's super fun because you feel equal to them. You're not afraid of them anymore.
That's
Because
great.
sometimes, most of the time at the start, it's like you're really scared of them because they're so much bigger. And then once you start working with them, you create this bond that's really sweet. And then, right now, they get super, super big. We think mine is about, at least 1,200 pounds. So you're, showing that one around, but I'm comfortable with him now. He's so big. He's you feel like they're teddy bears, big old teddy bears. So it's super fun.
Very cool. Well, and really special to build that bond with an animal and give it the best life you can, right? And learning things along the way.
Yeah.
That's right. Madeline was, I'd say a good 3 years younger when I interviewed her for this book. Well, 2 years younger anyway. So I told her she could either say her answers in the book or she could give current, more relevant answers if she wanted. So we have covered the kind of farm that we live on. I always really like asking, to you now, what is the absolute best part of living on a farm, Madeline?
Probably still the freedom and the wide open space and being able to like just do whatever you want basically. Also it's super educational. Like in school, you're like sitting in a class, hearing the teacher just speak about the stuff and sometimes it gets really boring. But like on a farm you get to go with your parents or friends or whatever and you get to actually like do this stuff like you learn to do by like doing this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Probably just a wide open space and getting to learn by actually doing it, like hands on.
Good answer, hey?
I love that answer too. Yeah, learn by doing for sure.
Learn by doing, exactly. The motto, isn't that the motto of 4-H too?
The motto is learn to do by doing.
Learn to do by doing, that's right. That kind of encapsulates farm life perfectly, doesn't it,
Yeah.
hey?
Yeah.
So that's the best part of living on the farm. So why don't you tell Caitlin and the listeners about our pets now?
We have a dog that we've had for a long time. I think she's almost 10 years old. She'll be 10 next September. And she's a Bernese Mountain Dog. Her name is Bubbles. We have a book about a trip that she took. It's called Bubbles Took a Trip. And it's a super fun kids book. And we have a cat named Wink. His full name, we named him Wink Hamburger Miller.
I forgot about the second names, Caitlin,
Yeah.
so you're getting the good one now.
And then we have a cat named Rosie. He's actually a boy. We didn't know that.
We didn't know that at first.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Rosie, Wink, and Bubbles now,
Wink
huh?
and Bubbles.
That's right.
My cat growing up, I had a boy named Sassy because I didn't know Sassy was a boy. But also, this is probably dating me for you, Madeline. Did you ever watch the movie Homeward Bound?
No.
Good. Don't ever watch it. You'll have to go to therapy. But I thought every cat's name was Sassy because the cat's name was Sassy in the movie. So I named my cat Sassy, but Sassy was a boy. So that's how city kids learned about life and death, was through that movie.
Through movies. Okay. You know what? I remember the title, but I do not remember that movie. But yeah, I won't rush to show it to the kids now if it's too hard on them.
Well, I think farm kids probably have a better grasp of life and death and things versus the city kids did. So I'm sure they would be fine to watch it. I, on the other hand, was a sensitive Sally, and it was real tearjerker for me.
I believe it.
Billie J. Miller is an author and a speaker who has been captivating audiences and readers by telling the stories of Canadian farm life since she married a fourth-generation Alberta farmer in 2010. She has spoken at dozens of events throughout Canada and the US about what she thinks makes farm life extraordinary. Miller speaks from her heart about the endless opportunities that come with rural life, the remarkable contributions of women in agriculture, overcoming adversity, and blooming where planted. She speaks poignantly and passionately, drawing on her many interviews while writing her books. Billie uses her life experiences and captivating stories to engage and connect with her audience. In a time where reconnection is what we all need, she leaves conference and gathering attendees moved, encouraged, and inspired for the future. Visit billiejmiller.com/speaking to read testimonials or to book Billie for an upcoming event.
When I interviewed you for the book, Madeline, another question I asked was, what is the coolest machine on your farm? And you thought it was the grain dryer.
Grain dryer is still pretty cool, but I think my favorite, I can't pick one, but I really like all our semis and the tractor and the silage truck around the same amount. They all, like, it's cool learning about them. Like, Dad used to be a mechanic, so he knows how everything runs, and sometimes you're listening to him and it doesn't make sense, but then after you kind of get it if you think about it, and it's like super cool.
That's very cool. And that's a great way of thinking of it and how you're listening to the machine, because I'm sure, Madeline, you've been in a piece of machinery that sometimes maybe it doesn't sound right. And when you can pick up on if it doesn't sound right, that's a great skill to have. Because if it doesn't sound right, you gotta stop.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, good call. Tell the listeners about your friends, Madeline. So my girls go to a nice small school. We are located west of Lloydminster, just so you know, which is right on the border of Alberta and Saskatchewan. And we are right in between two small towns called Kitscoty and Paradise Valley. And my girls go to school in Paradise Valley, which is where their dad coincidentally went to school. So it's actually really great that way because you just really, really know the families well down there and everything from generations, right? So their entire school from K to 12, Caitlin, if you can believe it, is under 200 kids. So that is a pretty rare and spectacular opportunity to have that small of a school community and that kind of close knit of a school community. So I like to kind of explore the fact that tell Caitlin and the listeners about the kids in your class. Do you find they're mostly farmers? Do you find they live in town? You tell them about that.
We have only 9 kids in our class. Everyone that's in our class now, we've been together in a class since kindergarten. So it kind of feels like we're all siblings, sort of, because we all like bug each other about stuff, and it's just super fun. And it's super nice because you get like it feels like you get taught better because you get more one-on-one time with the teacher, whereas with a big class, it kind of like last year we had a split class, so our teacher was telling us what to do and then go and went and taught the other grade.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of a little frustrating because you couldn't really. It was sometimes a little bit tricky to understand stuff. Only one person lives in town out of our whole class.
The rest are farm kids. Wow. So that one kid in town really gets a pick of which farm he gets to go hang out at. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, pretty neat, hey?
So I have a couple questions for you about your parents. Are you ready for those ones? Just answer like she's not sitting in the room.
Yeah, I can close my ears if you want.
What is the best thing about your mom?
That she just takes really good care of us and she makes really good food. She makes sure we're not hungry. She's just really loving and she just takes really, really good care of us.
Very good. I hear she makes good ribs.
Yes, those are my favorite ribs.
Yeah. Billy, it's settled. I'm coming over for ribs.
Anytime. Anytime.
I can attest to your mom. She is a very caring person and she loves a lot. And you guys are real lucky to have her as a mom. What is the coolest thing about your dad?
Well, there's a lot.
There is a lot. While she's thinking about it, I'll read what she said in the book. She said that he's a farmer and his whole family has been farming in Canada for 111 years. And I thought that was a pretty awesome answer.
That's a really big thing too. Cause like at least one person out of their family could easily switch to like living in a big city and stuff, in jobs. That's a really cool thing too. Also, like I was saying earlier, how he was a mechanic and he's really good at like getting us to do things outside and like getting hands on with stuff. And it's like a really good way of learning instead of just listening. So if you could learning how to do it, if you just do it, it's like he's really good at teaching other people and us how to do other things that we don't know how to do, because he just makes us get hands-on, and it's just super fun.
That is the truth about that. Yeah, you're absolutely right. He is a really good teacher, isn't he?
Yes.
And good at giving
Really good.
instructions.
Yeah.
And he's a very proud farmer too, isn't he? I will often tell him that he's one of those rare people that I think was born knowing what it is he wanted to do in his life. And I love that my kids get to experience that from a dad, someone so passionate about what it is he's doing. So,
Well, and, your husband, he is of the age where I'm sure there were a lot of people that he grew up with and lived with and around him. Parents encourage their kids to get off of the farm and go do something else. But to have that strong of knowing of what you're supposed to be doing, love farmers like that.
I know. And he left for a while to go educate himself, but it was always to come back, to come back and bring his new skill onto the farm, which is what he did. And yeah, pretty incredible. So,
Madeline, I want to ask you about your grandparents, because I know your grandparents have a big influence of you guys on the farm. So tell me what your favorite parts and the cool things about your grandparents are.
Like, the biggest thing is they live on a farm. So, and they live super, super close to us, like not even 15 minutes away. We could just drive over when we need. And grandma especially, she like really likes having the grandkids over. And like one thing that they do is like we're in school sports, so at a basketball game or anything, she always brings snacks for us. Or like a softball game, she always brings snacks for the whole entire team and some of the other team too. That's a thing that she does that's super, super sweet. And he helps a lot. It's kind of funny because lately we've been kind of fighting for the job of giving some of our heifers chop. And each time when I go out there, when I'm getting the food for my steers, like I come out 10 minutes after he just gave the chop. So sometimes Dad has been getting the chop really early so I could do it because he just really likes helping.
he doesn't want to lose his relevance
Yeah.
on the farm, right?
He's just super, super helpful.
Yeah.
And he's really funny.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's so good.
They struck gold with grandparents, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. That's so good.
Yeah.
You are very well spoken, Madeline, I have to say. You are a spitting image of your mom there.
Oh.
She's our next public speaker, Billy.
Oh, she's fantastic. So fantastic. Another two questions that I like to ask that I think is great to ask farm kids too is, and I'll let you think about this one. Think of a funny story of something that happened on the farm that you can think of that's funny. And maybe, the only other thing is like, have you put thought into what it is you might like to do? Katie informed us all, just kind of confirmed to be a lawyer.
Okay, I need to ask you, do you think your sister would make a good lawyer?
Yes.
Oh, why do you think she'd be a good lawyer?
She's annoyingly good at arguing.
Annoyingly good at arguing.
And what she does is if we're in a little, like if we're bickering sometimes, she picks out a grammar error that I did. And it's so annoying, but I realize that she's totally right. And then
Oh my gosh. We could spend the rest of our time talking about annoying little sisters, couldn't we?
Oh no.
Yeah, I just think she goes through with the lawyer thing. She'll be really good at it because she's good at arguing and
too good at arguing.
So what do you want to do when you grow up?
I for sure want to be a farmer and eventually like a pretty big farm. Maybe not as big as some of the farms that there is, but just a farm. And I also really want to be a teacher too, because I think the ideal grade that I'd like to teach is probably grade 3 or grade 5 and 6, because I just think could be super fun. And I think I'd be interested in like college studying a little bit of psychology, because your friends do it and
Auntie
it's super
Pam?
cool. Yeah.
Psychotherapist.
Yeah.
Yes.
And a couple of our teachers in our school, they're really good at making sure the students get what they need to learn good. And one of them, at the start of the year, she like does these little tests to see the students like which color that helps their brain like develop things and stuff. So sometimes if you see them doing a test, each of them have different colors, and that's the color that they work the best in. So I'd like to, and it's really interesting how like the human mind works. So I think I'd want to study a little bit of that.
That's awesome.
How do you think, it kind of brings me to another thought I often have. How do you think what you learn on the farm, being raised a farm kid, prepares you for, adulthood compared to living in the city or in a town?
One thing is like how to drive different equipment. Like most farm kids start driving at a young age.
Driving with a parent.
Yeah. Like learning how to drive the side by side or the quads. We can drive those now. And like basically driving and learning about money. Like there's a lot of things. Like you could learn about that if you're a city kid too. But like if you have animals, like I want to start my own herd of cows. So I think a couple of weeks ago we went to this heifer and bull auction and we bought some new heifers, and I get to pick one out to start my herd, but I have to save up for that money to pay my dad back. And it's like money is a big thing that you learn about if you for sure have animals or you have lots of equipment or grain, and learning what grain is good, like if it's dry or wet or something. So like money and like learning how to drive and work different things.
That's a great answer.
Well, and I think all of that ties into responsibility. I think farm kids have a really good grasp of what responsibility is because, you are responsible for another living thing, whether it's an animal or any of the responsibility comes with operating machinery. Like they're big, expensive, and they can be dangerous and all the things. So I think that's a great answer.
We learn a lot about safety. Like even flying kites, we know to go out in the field and not by the road. I think not by a car or a road or anything. One time we were in town and we seen dad and his kids, and they were flying a kite, and it was like really, really close to a power line. And mom and dad were just like, holy cow, how does that's super, super dangerous. And me and Kate were like that too. So we learn a lot, like safety things. We learn a lot about safety too, because there's a lot of dangerous things on a farm, but it's also like it teaches you responsibility and safety a lot.
That's absolutely true. Like you can't go on holidays any time of year, right? There are certain holidays that are just certain times of the year that are off limits. Your life is dedicated to the farm. We all know about that, right? And it just makes you really enjoy that time, makes that time that much sweeter when you are able to leave or you are able to have people look after things for you. And
did you think of a funny story or a fun story that you want to share?
I think I have. I think I was either 4, 5, or 6, sort of around there. And we were tagging a calf out by our shop. And it was super, super funny. So dad tagged the calf, and once he got up, the calf was just huge, just angry. And what he did is he went running and he head bunted dad right in the butt. and he almost fell over, sort of. It was super funny.
He was so little and he was sitting there headbutting Dean and kind of growl going, "Arr!" And dad's just standing there holding the calf going, yeah, get it out of your system. And the kids were just laughing their heads off.
Yeah.
That was cute. Yeah.
And then there's another time where we were going down an alleyway and it was fairly chilly out, so we were little, and Katie, she had her big mittens on and ski pants and her big winter coat. But it was like muddy. It was super muddy. So there's just a lot of mud and cow manure. And Kate went walking, and I think we started running or something. And she her foot got stuck or something, and she fell over into the cow poop and mud. And her mittens were just covered, and then it was so funny.
Oh, did
Oh,
she start?
no.
No, she didn't start crying.
No. Oh.
Everyone started laughing, and then she started chasing me because I didn't get all that on me.
That's a Kate move.
Yeah.
She'll hit you with her poopy mitt.
Oh my gosh, so funny.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So good.
So good. Everybody has the story of where their boots gotten stuck somewhere, whether they toppled over or not.
Absolutely.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Involving cow poo or some animal poo of some sort.
And Bubbles, there's like frozen chunks of cow poop.
Mm-hmm.
And what she did is she always was like a popsicle for
her. Oh my goodness, yes.
Yep. Every farm dog, every single one of them.
Yes.
I shared this with your sister, but I also have a Bernese Mountain Dog. His name is Kevin. And I was inspired to get a Bernese Mountain Dog from your book because they sounded like awesome farm dogs and they're real cute.
They're super loyal too.
Right?
Is Kevin really loyal to you and your yard and
to a T?
Oh, so sweet.
The sweetest man, Kevin. So
yeah, they are the best. And Bubbles has absolutely grown up with Madeline and Kate. You know, it was a key part of their farm kids story. And we love her to bits. She's just upstairs lying in the porch as we speak because she's finding, as she's getting a little bit older, she'll be 10 in September. She finds more and more reasons to come in. You know, when and her hips get a little sore. Yeah, she's finding more and more reasons to come in the house and sleep in the porch, which is the only place she can go in the house. You know how much they shed, Caitlin. So
they are not hypoallergenic by any means.
No, not at all.
I think the only question that I have left. So this is something, Madeline, that we've been talking about with a couple of the different kids, and this, is for you and Katie. Something that's a reality. Sometimes grown-ups, when they have conversations of farm families, they're like, oh, you had so many daughters. It's so great. Are you going to have a boy so they can take over the farm or they can continue to farm? And you growing up on the farm and being part of a very strong farming family, you know that women are absolutely capable of farming and being farms and farm owners and all of the things. So if there was ever a time that somebody came to you and said that you couldn't be a farmer because you are a girl, what would your response be to them?
It'd probably make me really, really mad.
Because what couldn't you do, right?
Yeah.
As you grow?
You can do everything that all of the boys can do.
Absolutely.
Probably a trick that some people do is like if someone insults you in a way, like if you try to not show like affection or like if you try to just like rub it off your shoulder, flick it, I don't know, it would kind of make the other person feel a little embarrassed. So I would try to not show affection. It doesn't bother me, although like it would. Like I don't want to maybe punch him in the face.
Just in your head, right? Just in your head.
Yeah. What? You've been in trouble, so I won't want to do that.
Yeah. Good.
So probably just try to not show like that it bothers me in a way. Just
Watch me.
Yeah, prove them wrong.
Yeah. I love that.
And then someone says that to you, and then you could call them when you're older and you have your big farm, and just show them.
I love that. You send them a Christmas card from your big farm.
From your farm with all your cows behind you, hey?
Yeah.
I can't wait for that Christmas card, Madeline. I cannot wait for it. I love
Send
that.
them a Christmas card. I love that.
You did so good. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us and being such a positive influence for all of the young farm women out there. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Billy.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to the Rural Woman Podcast. The Rural Woman Podcast is more than just a podcast. We are a community. A huge thank you to the Rural Woman Podcast team, audio editor Max Hofer, and admin support from Kim & Co. Online. A special thanks to our Patreon executive producers, Sarah Riedner from Happiness by the Acre and Carrie Munven from Blaystone Farms. To learn how you can become a Patreon executive producer or other ways to financially support the show, head on over to wildrosefarmer.com to learn more. Be sure to hit the follow or subscribe button wherever you listen to the podcast to get the latest episodes directly on your playlist. And if you are loving the show, please be sure to leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or any other platform that accepts ratings and reviews. You can connect with us on social media at The Rural Woman Podcast and with me at Wild Rose Farmer. One of the best ways you can support the show is by sharing it. Send this episode to a friend or share on your social media. Let's strengthen and amplify the voices of women in agriculture together. Until next time, my friend, keep sharing your story.
Hi, my name is Billy J. Miller. Did you know that I'm also a speaker? Always drawn to a powerful story and meaningful connection, I love taking part in events that celebrate women and agriculture. Find one that celebrates both, and I'm in my happy place. I speak from my heart about the endless opportunities that come with rural living, the remarkable contributions of women in agriculture, overcoming adversity, and blooming where planted. Visit billyjmiller.com/speaking to learn more.